So I'll give you three general thoughts or principles and then three tools that I think are worth taking a look at. And the first thing that I think you need to keep in mind when approaching social media is that it involves you, but it's not about you, right? If you want to use social media to interact with friends and family, people who are actually interested in the fun details of your life, that's one thing. But if you want to use social media to help grow your business, it can't be all about you. Now, that's probably not exactly what you want to hear, but what I'm suggesting is that you have to know who your audience is, who you're trying to connect with, and then you have to think about what they want to hear, their needs, not yours. I mean, you're not Ashton Kutcher. You can't engage people by talking about what you and your wife did for breakfast. That just doesn't work for most people. What do the people you are hoping to connect with want? It's not about you. And I know that's really hard to get your mind around sometimes because it's so accessible and so easy to go into Twitter and start talking about yourself. The barrier to entry on this stuff is dangerously low. So don't go in and exercise vanity and expect to have people respond to you, all right? Keep your audience in mind. Secondly, content, and Aaron mentioned this, content is more important than connections. If you have nothing to say, if you have no expertise to demonstrate, if you have no writing skills, if you have no insight to share, you can have 100,000 followers on Twitter and no business, right? Don't try and go out and get 50,000 followers on Twitter. You can spend all your time doing that. It's better to connect with 10 people with a really thoughtful blog post, perhaps a really honest, candid video about your neighborhood or what's going on in the market. So don't always think about big. Content, what you broadcast through these media, is more important than the number of people that you're connecting with. Lastly, and this relates to my first point, give people what they want. We have 15 years of research that make it very clear what home buyers and sellers want when they're on the internet. It's information about property, it's information about the value of their home or what they can expect to pay for a home, and it's information about the area in which they hope to live, the neighborhood, the schools, etc. Usually in that order. This isn't a mystery to us. We know this. So if you're going to write a blog, write about those things. If you're going to tweet, tweet about those things. We know that consumers want that. Feed consumers what they want to receive, and you'll generally do well. Lastly, and this gets back to my first point about sharing about yourself. There are elements of my personality that I will only inflict upon my wife. Okay? You got to be very careful. It's sort of like your own celebrity manager. You're your own celebrity manager. Okay? You need to be very careful about what you project out, into the world, and do a gut check before you write something, before you do something on video. Does this present myself in the way that I really want to be presented in a professional context? And about a third of the time you'll probably say, I better ditch that. So be very careful. Manage your reputation actively. Take care of it. So 3 tools. First of all, email marketing is still enormously powerful. Surveys tell us that consumers still expect to interact with brands and get information with brands via email before they ever think of RSS and Twitter, etc. Real estate never mastered email marketing to start with, so it's almost like we want to move from freshman year to our senior year and skip everything in between. So if you want to do an email newsletter and reach out to consumers that way, there's a tool called MailChimp that's really, really good for that, and it's the most user-friendly tool that I've seen. It's called MailChimp. MailChimp, like the monkey.com. And it's actually free for up to 500 users, something like that. It's really cool. Secondly, there is a widget that just came out last week. And a widget's basically just a little program that you can embed into a website or a blog that allows you to show the people that you do have in your social network, and people that are visiting to your site, people who don't know you, can then click on a button and see if you share anybody in common. And if you think about real estate, where the referral and the warm introduction is so important, that's a really interesting way to leverage the people that you do connect with online. And that's called Mashed In, MashedIn.com, Mashed In. And that's free. You may want to just check that out. And then the third thing that I would suggest you take a look at is WordPress. You've probably heard about that. .org. All right. If you're an agent, the agent website business is really probably kind of dying. Web presence as we know it is going away. WordPress has been thought of as a blog tool, but it really can be anything you want it to be. So if you really want to blow out a killer website presence, WordPress is probably where you should start. Tons of websites that you would never recognize as blogs are built on WordPress. So those are three things. And just be careful out there. I've seen a lot of people really expose themselves as knuckleheads through social media. And you need to be very, very careful.